and we're discussing general issues as it concerns Canada. And me, coming from Nigeria with my Nigerian background, I try to relate to Nigeria and what is going on with Nigeria presently. Kent, I wanted to ask you, were you once in the military service?
Actually, I was not in military service, okay? I was the Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Yes.
Okay, and as Minister of Veterans Affairs, you are charged with the responsibility for looking after Canada's ill and injured soldiers, okay? Those members who have been hurt while serving this country. It was a tremendous honor and a privilege to do so. Yeah. We were in charge of a wholesale workaround of adding over $10 billion in new programming and servicing and benefits to veterans. I was very proud of that. But I think also, here's one thing. The Canadian Armed Forces here in Canada has been on the right side of history on the way we have done things. You know, from World War I, World War II, to our role in the Korean conflict, the peacekeeping missions, Afghanistan and beyond, Canada has stood bravely and proudly on the world stage, and they've kept us strong, free, and democratic. We have a great debt to our Canadian military family. Also, if I had to go back, there's not much in life I would do differently. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if I had to do it over again, I think I'd become a soldier when I was 18.
That's right.
Because it's a way to serve, and your opportunities to help and build people up is profound. So
that's right. Yeah. As a young man back in Vancouver, I almost joined the Canadian military. But
you did.
I did. Yeah, that was way back.
What stopped you?
There were a lot of other competing factors that discouraged me from continuing in that quest.
I hear you.
But I want to ask you again, since election loss, what then?
That was, I think it was October 21st, 1919. So here we are.
2019.
2019. So we're almost coming up on 2 years of one day. My last name is Hehr.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's Hehr today, gone tomorrow.
Yes.
You know, that's how life is. You know, one time you're in government, next day you're not, and that's the way the cookie crumbles.
And since you left office as minister,
yeah.
How come you didn't consider relocating to another country?
I was born here in Canada. I was raised here in Calgary. My friends are here. My family's here. My mom and dad. My life is here.
It's here in Calgary and Canada.
And we still have enough opportunity here that I don't have to go.
Do you know why I asked you this question? I told you earlier that I will be mixing it up with my experience from another country, which is Nigeria. In Nigeria, politicians are known to steal money from the system and hide it in different countries. So if they lose office or if they are facing any legal challenges, they run away to those countries and dip into the stolen funds. I'm not sure if you remember Sani Abacha, the former dictator in Nigeria, who died in 1998 in office.
Yeah.
This guy, the money he stole from government is still being repatriated back to Nigeria 20 years after. So that's why I was asking you, how come you didn't move to another country?
No. And let me say this about the Canadian system.
Yeah.
Regardless of who is in power, whether it's the Conservatives, Liberals, or the Democrats, I can say that politicians are honest, that they are doing the best they can to implement the policies that they believe will be better for the city, the province, and the country. Okay? You know, we might have different opinions, but the system of government is one in Canada where it is not corrupt. It is not based on cronyism and governments taking our individuals feathering their nest or making themselves rich.
So who you know doesn't make difference here?
No. let's say there are connected people who put policy prescriptions in front of government,
Yes.
who give them ideas, who government reaches out to learn from. But in my experience, there is not the enriching of people or giving government contracts to a friend or things like that.
Speaking of contracts,
It tends to be merit based.
Yes.
It tends to be based on what they can do, not so much on those other factors.
yeah. So that leads me to ask you this question. Since you left office, have you been handling contracts for the government of Canada or the province or city?
No, no, I have not. There is though I do some government relations work, which is working with companies and saying, hey, if you're going to approach government, here's your messaging, here's who I would go see, let me see your slide deck, let's have a talk before you go in. But I don't directly, there's a 5-year lobbyist ban where I am unable to contact members of parliament, cabinet ministers, the prime minister, and talk to them about public policy issues or work for
Contracts.
a company and go, because they say, no, that's a cooling off period. You're
Yes.
not going to use your government influence to get wealthy.
5-year period after leaving office.
5 year, and that's probably that's a pretty good rule.
Well,
Okay.
can I tell you this?
Yeah.
The reason I ask you about taking contract from government after leaving office is because, again, of the experience I know about Nigeria,
Yeah.
where retired military officers, retired civilian officers, maybe ministers or whoever in government now becomes contractors to the government, thereby abusing the system, using who they know to get to contracts. And sometimes these contracts are not even executed. They just get the payment and then they pay somebody who gave them the contract some percentage while the contract is not done. So is it like that happening here?
You know, in my experience, I have not seen it. Okay, in my experience, you know, that does not happen.
Okay.
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 You know, there has been occasion where a person close to the government gets a contract, and whether or not they were the best person or not, the opposition may say they weren't. The government will say that they were just doing regular business with people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And in the main, that's what I think it is.
That's good.
That governments give contracts to people who are deserving.
Yes. I'm having a lunch conversation with my friend Kent Hehr, former minister of the federal government of Canada. He was last the Minister of Veteran Affairs, and about 2 years ago he lost re-election. And since then I've been seeing him in the city, and he's an open person. He relates with people, meets with people. I'm a very cheerful guy.
I'm a reasonable guy most days.
I think you are.
And that's what it is.
I
I
think
like
you're-
people. And Stephen and I, on Saturday night we met and we were saying, let's get together, and here we are.
That's
At a
right.
place called Tim Hortons.
That's right.
A coffee shop in Canada.
Calgary,
just
yes.
having a great time.
That's right. And so I ask you, any future plans to get back into politics?
Public service is in my blood.
Yes.
It's at the root of who I am. I believe the way to move your society forward
Is to get involved in
is through
politics.
And whether that's being as an elected person, working on a team, trying to go into meetings to influence your local representatives,
Yeah.
that's important to making your community better. So I will look for an opportunity to serve the people, and if they want me, you know, that's one thing.
Yes.
It's one thing for me want to do it.
And one thing is the people getting you in.
Do other people think I can add value to their lives?
You know, it was outstanding that in the whole of Alberta, you were perhaps the only elected member of parliament from this city.
Well, I represented a party that doesn't get elected very often.
In this province.
The Liberals. And we tend to identify with the Conservative Party, or at least vote there.
Yes.
I think most people are pretty centrist. Bye-bye. Take care, eh? Good to see you. I will. It's wonderful to see you again. You go. Take care.
God bless.
God bless you.
That's good.
So, you know, winning elections is fun, but that's not. The real thing is how to move issues forward. Why I'm in politics, or why I was in politics, to ensure that we have a quality of opportunity. Whether you're born of a rich family or one that struggles,
Shouldn't make any difference.
You can build your life. A little kid can go in and say, I can be anything he wants. So
Yeah.
we have public health care, public education, an ability to go to post-secondary.
Yes.
Trying to ensure that not everything just goes to the wealthy.
Okay.
That's an important thing.
Okay, I want to ask you also, what's your take on the residential schools and mass graves that we've been discovering lately?
Tragic circumstances. And let me start by saying Canada has a long history, one that we, in the main, should feel very proud about. In the main, we have tried to become an inclusive, pluralistic, multicultural society that embraces everyone. Okay? But let's be clear, since we began settling here, when the first people arrived from Europe over here, the policies, the government action, the different ways we have engaged with our Indigenous peoples has been horrific.
Yes.
It has been brutal. It has not been fair. And you see that from day one. You see that in the residential schools was a government policy that was set out to was cultural genocide. We were trying to change the way peoples had lived, how they shared their language, how they shared their colors. We took little kids away from their families, and they
put them in residential homes.
It was wrong.
Residential schools, and some of them turned up dead.
It was wrong because we didn't understand their way of life.
Over 4,000.
Because we wanted to change the way. Ultimately, we wanted the land that they lived on.
Has Canada made any changes ever since?
I believe. Look, we stopped residential schools in 1997. Far too late. The Trudeau government is in the process of implementing the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and understanding that we want to see Indigenous people succeed in this country. I think a big way we're doing that is with not only land acknowledgements. We live on Treaty 7 land here in Calgary, where Indigenous peoples have been building community for generations upon generations. But we need to ensure that Indigenous people have opportunities to build their lives.
That's right.
And that's where I think we're getting to that place.
Okay, my next question would be, what's Canada's place in international affairs?
In my view...
In your view, what would you consider to be Canada's place in a global community?
Canada has to play the role of... I believe we're a middle power still. I believe that we have undue influence over world events because we're not the United States, we're not China, we're not Russia. We play a role of being a commentator on world affairs, as well as taking part and saying what we believe in and what we don't. You know, let me tell you something. One of my proudest moments was in, I believe it was 2002 or just before the what year did the Iraq War break out?
That would be 2003.
2003, yeah, around there. Okay.
I know that 9/11 happened 2001.
Yeah, thank you. My mind isn't as sharp. You know, so you have the Iraq War breakout. The United States is putting together the coalition of the willing.
Yes.
George Bush. Basically, every Western nation is going along with this.
But Canada opposed it.
No. And Jean Chrétien goes up and says, no.
Yeah.
We will not go.
Yeah.
We do not see the need. We do not have the case. We do not see why
that the case hasn't been made.
Why this has happened. Okay, we were one of the only Western nation, if not the only Western nation who did not go.
Yeah.
Canada has that reputation of doing what's right, not what's expedient, of doing what's right. And we have a lot to be proud of there. despite we live next door to one of the probably the world's the greatest power the world's ever known, we exert a fair bit of independence and thoughtfulness.
No doubt.
Forthright.
I can testify
we can be
to
proud
that.
of that.
I can testify to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, my next question is, how can third world countries emerge to become real functional countries? Third world countries. How can they emerge from being tagged third world? I mean, I have seen third world countries grow, like South Korea. At a time in my life, I spent time in South Korea, and I saw them move from military dictatorship to functional government that really put the people's affairs first and foremost over their individual needs. I saw dictators jailed in South Korea for stealing the people's money, for stealing from the system. So what would be your option to third world countries from being perpetual receivers of aids from other countries, and then begin to grow and develop their systems?
What I think is most important is having the rule of law, where nobody is above the law, including your politicians, and then to enable your citizenry to have as much freedom as they can. Well, with the confines of government, and with an overarching judicial system that says, here we are.
Yeah.
In Canada, we have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Yes.
We have that, and that says governments can do this, but they cannot do that. And whenever you have those checks and balances, when you have a strong judiciary that says, no, government, you've overstepped your bounds. You can't do this. No, politicians, if you do this, you will go to jail. No, we have rules and laws in the books, and you can't buy your way out of things. That is what you need to do. You need the rule of law along with a system of government.
That's what makes the system work.
Yes.
That takes me to one of my second to the last question I have for you, Kent, and it has to do with Nigeria now.
Well, I'm not an expert on Nigeria.
You may not be an expert on Nigeria.
Africa.
It's not even giant of Africa. It's crumbling giant of Africa. It's going down. But the question is now that Nigeria fell into the hand of Islamists in the last 5 years. 2015, there was an election, and the winner of that election have consistently shown his bias toward Islamists. He has allowed his tribal men from other countries to come into Nigeria. They are called the Fulani. What this group of people have been doing is moving from community to community, killing people on the basis of the difference in tribe and religion. They are Islamists, I call them. Now, the plan of this current government is to create a homeland out of Nigeria for this group of individuals called Fulani. They go with cattlemen. They have not embraced this modernized way of ranching, which we see all over Alberta. I drive even down on Chestermere there, you see ranch. You see people tending to their cow, you see water where the cow can drink, you see hares that the cow graze on. Now, this has led to constitutional force majeure that was declared on December 16th by indigenous nationalities. Their representatives signed a constitutional force majeure saying that we now have problem with the constitution because within the Nigerian constitution there are 68 exclusive items that states, which supposed to be the federating units, are not to touch, which one of them is state police. You don't have power to create your own energy supplies, which could lead to industrialization. So a lot of things have been stunted in Nigeria, as it were. And I ask you, the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, any advice on constitutional force majeure? How can they go about it?
Now, sir, you've gone into an area that I do not know. I'm not an expert on it. And so I don't feel I'm in a position to give you the best advice. But just from listening, what you have to design or what you have to do is ensure that you're reaching out to the other side. Make sure you're reaching out to those around you, organizing politically, and always remembering that the road is hard and long, but you'll always have to continue striving for a better tomorrow. One of the things that I think is great about Canada is that we have protection for minorities. So government cannot go in and say, and people cannot be discriminated against on the basis of their religion, on the basis of their color, on the basis of who they love, or what their occupation is. So those type of systems, building blocks of government, is what your country needs to work towards.
I will bring that question here now. I'll bring that question to Canadian perspective.
Good.
What would you advise the natives in Canada if they were to declare constitutional force majeure against the Canadian Constitution?
I'm not, well, we have the courts. See, we have the courts.
Yes.
That are able, the courts are deciding, Indigenous law has made great advances since the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in 1982. You now have courts moving towards governments. You better get towards awarding Indigenous people their land and their titles, or we're going to start doing that for you.
You're talking about a functional court system.
Exactly.
What if the court system is corrupt? Plus in Nigeria.
Sir, you're talking about a long haul.
Thank you.
Okay.
A very difficult process.
You're talking about a long haul, a difficult process, but one that you can get towards. And through continued dialogue and healthy debate and working with those who may not believe exactly the same things as you.
Yeah.
It is so, but sir, it is so hard, and I'm so sorry.
That we find ourselves in the situation we find ourselves. Well, that's why the constitutional force majeure had to come into place, because this matter I'm discussing with you right now has actually been reported to the United Nations. It has gone that far, and we've also made our case with the United States government and Congress about the killing of Christians, mainly Christians in the central Nigeria middle belt, southwest of Nigeria, which is Oduduwa, or southwestern part of Nigeria, Yoruba, and the eastern, southeast, south of Nigeria, where these armed herdsmen terrorists have been moving from coast to coast, killing people and taking over communities.
Sir, I think I'm gonna have to read a little more about what's going on in Nigeria. I'll pick up some things.
Yes.
But but we're closing out here. What's your final question on that list there?
How come you don't have security as in third world countries? How come you don't go about with security?
Well, one, I wouldn't like it. Okay?
You wouldn't like it?
I wouldn't. But Canada is a fairly peaceful place.
Yes, I can testify to that.
And don't get me wrong, when you're a political figure, the Prime Minister needs security.
Yes.
Okay? Do other cabinet ministers? Usually not.
Yeah.
Regular politicians? No. Look, we take some hassle from time to time from certain constituents, which isn't very nice. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, politicians here in Canada are regular people who are going about their jobs doing the best they can. And so we live in a fairly peaceful society.
Yes.
And because we have the rule of law, we have democracy, people have freedoms and rights and responsibilities, and people generally know the social rules that we are governed by, and most of them follow it.
And where does power flow from?
Power flows from the Constitution.
From the city?
It flows from the Constitution, but ultimately gives power to the people.
From the people?
Yeah, power to the people.
Yeah.
The people ultimately get to decide who their political masters are, and they can change them every 4 years if they don't like them.
That's right.
And so I often say to people, if you don't like the government, who do you blame? You voted for them. Vote them out next time.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you making out this time.
Stephen, I'm so happy we're able to chat.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
This
much,
was a
Kent.
lot of fun. Thank you.
It's a pleasure meeting you, and I hope you get re-elected again.
Well, God willing, and the creek not rising is the saying we have.
Yes. And when next you contest, I would really like to volunteer for your next re-election.
There we go.
Thank you, and God bless you, Kent.
Goodness.